Perfect.
All righty.
Boarding.
So we're winging this, right? We have no clue what we're talking about.
Oh man. So I can tell you this past 2 weeks, I don't know what's going on. I've been like completely mind wiped like I've never felt before. And I'm like large gaps of missing memory. Like, well, Tracy will be like, Logan XYZ, and I'll be like, I don't like don't remember that period. And then she'll be upset, like, how can you not remember that? And I'll be like, I don't know. It's like I just nowhere in my brain. Like I cannot piece any trail to get to that point. And it's like, how can I not remember that? Because that's so big. Like I should be remembering this stuff. And it makes me wonder what the heck is going on because I haven't experienced like this kind of that feeling. It's kind of scary where you're kind of like, holy crap, like I can't remember certain things, and it's like things I should be remembering.
I know. I'm laughing because I'm doing the same thing, but it'll be something really obvious. And of course, right now I can't think of an example, but like something really obvious I should know that I remembered 2 days ago, but now, and it's an old like story, or it's, I don't know, even my, not my middle name. It's not that drastic, but it's something like that I should know. And like, why can't I access this today? Like I could, this should just be something I can always access. So I don't know. I think I've had the feeling they're cutting out um, time. Like we talked about that before, where they're cutting out sections of time, and I think that's done in our DNA because our time is just a linear progression. So we're kind of like they're doing it to us, but it's, I guess you could say, memory wipes too. There's probably any number of things going on because they're trying to move us into something. So
That's for sure. I I don't know about you as far as how you felt about this, but what I noticed that kind of threw, and I'm just getting a really funny feeling right now. That is wild. I don't even know what
yeah,
that
what
is.
are you getting interfered with, or?
I don't know. It's like I feel this pressure on my chest and I'm getting the
Hmm.
chills a little bit and I feel really weird and airy right now.
All right, well, let's
Very,
push that away from you because
very unusual.
they
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
want us talking, obviously. Let's push that
I don't
away from
know.
you.
It's not bad. It's just unusual. I'm like, what is this feeling? But
It shouldn't be pushing on your chest, though. I'm just
yeah,
like,
well, it's just like a slight crack. I can feel the energy like pressure going here. That's bizarre. But I felt like in the past 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, there's been sort of this stagnation, the energy of stagnation, and I don't know what that means. I almost kind of feel like something happened within this plan, this movement of where we're supposed to be going, that something interfered with that, and there's sort of this reconfiguring of how to still get to, said point, the agenda point, or get to the next, check mark of, I guess you'd call it the plan that they have here. But I don't know if you felt the same or if that's just, you know,
yeah, we're in a limbo. I think the battle's still going on. Does your chest feel any better?
oh yeah, I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good.
I kind of pushed it away while you were
Thank
talking, but
you.
the it feels like people keep saying the battle's won, and maybe that's the future, like at some point, but at the present moment, um, it's still going on. So
Yeah.
it's like at a stalemate with each other. And somebody said something interesting that the battles are going on in the astral. And if you want to go after these beings or do have any effect, you do it in the astral because this is just the after effects, I think, in
Right.
the 3D world. So whatever's going on in the astral is eventually manifesting here. And I think they're at a stalemate right now. It's like back and forth, back and forth. I do feel like that third faction is trying to come in, and it could possibly be like I kept hearing the old ones like in my head, like as far as who they are, but and I don't know if those were the original beings that had their own, because what I feel like is they created their own, not created, but they replicated their own version of reality, and then it got hijacked by these other two races that have been fighting over control for us and going, and it feels like this third one's coming back in, the originals, and it's all control, I think, but still some of it can be more um, more pleasant for us. But I do feel like that we are here to take this down. My friend Sam has kind of confirmed that too. So I feel like we're making cracks in this, but it's a process of taking the matrix down is like 150, 200 years, or maybe it's longer or shorter. I'm not sure, but it's a period of time. And Sam seems to think it's not going to happen in our lifetime, but that we're here to make cracks in it and weaken it, and then the next wave comes in and takes it down. In the meantime, it would be nice to get some controllers that would give us a better experience, energy or whatever. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on, because I definitely feel the limbo. I think a lot of people do. And then on the political front, it's like quiet, even though there's stuff going on, and but we still can't figure it out. We don't have answers, and that's the manifestation or the reflection of what's going on in the astral. I think.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
that
What are your thoughts on that?
it makes a lot of sense to me. I kind of feel like on the political fronts of things, like I was telling you before we started recording, not going a month with zero, listening to anything or subscribing to anything.
Oh,
Um,
you did a month? I thought you did a week.
no, a month. I did a month,
Oh
right?
my God.
Anything. Yeah, no Facebook, no YouTube, no TV, no
Wow.
radio. And but I listen to music like CDs and stuff like that. But that's all like Led Zeppelin and like going back, that kind of time. But it was really interesting because after coming back into it and going, okay, I'm going to get on Facebook. I'm going to see what's happening. Get on these little groups, like these kind of they call them conspiracy groups or whatever, to see what's going on. It was really kind of mind blowing to see how even these groups, even the groups that I really respect and I still really respect, get lost into this. The subliminal aspects of what the mind control is, because if they had so tuned in that even if you just turn the radio on and you think you're not paying attention to the commercials or the radio host, that it's sending all this stuff in. So when I turned the radio on for the first time after a month, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just ridiculous. I had to turn it off because I'm like, I can't, no wonder we're in the state we're in, because even people who really are really awake and aware, I don't think really realize how controlled they are by participating in any of it at all, period. And so that kind of raises this question of, well, you can't not just participate in it, because then you're really retreating yourself out of society. And that's not a healthy thing to do. But you have to, there has to be some balance there between, taking it away and going back in, and taking it away and going back in. And I like my dad, for instance, he's very aware, but he watches that, news in the morning. And then so it's
Ugh.
so funny talking to him. It's like he won't quite get my perspective because he still has this subliminal ringing in his mind about something he heard on on the TV or the radio or something. So on the political front, it just seems to me that they'll go slow and they won't do anything for a while, and then they'll stage another big event. And it's just like the typical thing that they do, like this thing in Colorado. I don't know what's going on with that. I just heard about that a few days ago, and it makes me wonder. It's like, then that simmers down, and then they bring something back up again, and and that's a way to keep people like waiting for what's the next thing, and that's a mind control tactic, is waiting for something external from you to give you some sort of feeling of being, or your life. It's like we're always in a state of waiting for the next thing. And that's not very healthy at all. It's a very unhealthy thing. Um, but in the energy, in the spiritual realm, and in this realm of, we get into the extraterrestrial involvement of what we have going on right now, I've been really, really drawn to that. And I feel like I've been getting messages about the revelation or revealing of humanity, and our origins. It's just keeps coming to me all the time. And I don't know, I have to work this out a little bit more, but I had this really strong feeling, and I'm going back millions and millions, if not billions of years, that we were here, like just like we are now, but very pure and very like very directly from light or from source, in a physical body, a photonic biologic body. But now when I start thinking about these extraterrestrial life forms, I almost feel like those are the future us. Like we failed so many times, and then we had to get off the earth. We had to learn technology. We had to learn how to do this gene stuff. And it's just, oh, it's just built inside of us. Like, look what we're doing right now with all this, with the jabs and the genetic modifications. It's like we're just repeating history over and over and over again. So this is where it starts. It starts with, let's genetically modify ourselves so that we can live longer, so that we become partially artificial intelligence, and we'll start going up. And the next thing you know, we may be, what's the word I'm looking for? Benevolent, at some point in like 670 or 6D or something like that. But there's still an ingredient that is in a human being that is vital to the whole entire thing. Like the whole shebang is what I'm feeling like. That there's something very special about us, and there's a reason why there's this pressure to keep people from realizing that. If you really look at it, why aren't people just like exuberantly excited about waking up in the morning and go, wow, look at everything out here, this is absolutely amazing. Like, what keeps people from that?
Well, I think we're in a false reality for one thing,
Right.
and it doesn't measure up to the real world that we remember. Um, but going back to the music thing, because we had talked about that before we recorded, and I think it's really important for people, especially trying to cope with everything going on. Pay attention to the music you're listening to. Like the stuff today, I think has even heavier programming than the stuff like from the 80s when I was in high school. So like when I'm at the gym, I have to put on Van Halen or something because I have to block out whatever that is coming through the speakers, like this some new release from some artist, and I'm like, I can't, it's so bad I can't listen to it. And it's because I've stepped back, like you are talking about. I haven't watched TV in I don't know how long. I think I started or I stopped watching like in the late 80s. So and I never watched the news. So I can't imagine just watching my mother stare at the TV and they say, get your jab 1,500 times. And then she's on a dementia loop. So she keeps asking me, do I need that? Do I need that? Do I need, because they say it that many times. I can't imagine trying to formulate what is going on in here and what is truth and when you have all that input. So I think maybe when you listen to music, be very selective, especially with the lyrics. Make sure they're not excessively negative. But anyway, going to what you're talking about after that with the future, is that us, that kind of thing can be definitely a possibility. I think it's in the plan. I think when you're sensing that things are repeating themselves, like we're going towards becoming these aliens, these fake synthetic or AI beings in the future. I think this has happened in other places and we've experienced it, and now they're trying to do it here. And it's our opportunity to stop it. I also think this lull or this limbo is an opportunity for souls to come together and stop it. So they've been very hard at work. Uh, you were talking about us being vital. They're very hard at work disconnecting us from our soul. And if they do that, they can keep the soul under permanent control, as it's like the battery, but it does other things as well. There's several different things they use the souls for. And and then we just become like a mind slave uploaded into the hive or the AI,
Yeah.
and possibly do become those bodies, take on those bodies or those aliens and become synthetic. But and they've been kind of winning the battle. But what I'm sensing is there's this group of souls that are solid and they are not giving in, and it's just enough to hold the line. So it's almost like we have this many souls here left that are really awakening and trying to do something, or trying to cope. And then it's getting like whittled down. But there's this point they can't get past, like you and I and other people on my channel. There's this solid group that's holding the line, and they're not I don't feel they're going to be able to carry out what they want, because we're not going to let it. We're holding it for this next wave to come in.
Yeah.
So yes, we are vital. And I just wonder if we can take it down beforehand. I feel like that possibility still may exist, but at the very least we're weakening it significantly, so that at some point this whole fake thing is taken down, this overlay or whatever it is of multiple layers. And when that happens, our consciousness is just going to go back to where we really are. And that may be this fantastic world that's an actual creation with actual real things there, um, of bright colors or whatever it is. And instead, we're in a false synthetic reality with souls drug in here to occupy the false bodies, such as like a blade of grass or a tree or an animal or us, all souls being forced to occupy this synthetic stuff and then simulate the world. And we're like, well, no, this isn't going to work because it's separated and it's not real. And it's so we get up in the morning and we're like, oh, I don't want to be here, because on some level we know. But that doesn't mean that we can't turn this into something much more positive where we can enjoy it and we can have some positive experiences. I can turn on a particular Van Halen song that doesn't bother me, and then I can enjoy it and be like, I'm an idiot dancing to 80s and at the gym. And so we can pick and choose, but we can start to more and more pick and choose where more of that comes in here. So we're in a false reality. Let's live it while we're here and then make it the best we can. We don't have to accept this stuff that they're trying to force down our throats. If there's a huge number here that are not souls, then they're going to either follow our lead or they're getting sucked into the plan, which is what I see happening. And I don't know how much we can do about that. I think we have to more focus on us holding the line. And when you talk about billions of people, I mean, that's a couple billion people that are souls. So it's not a small number. So it's not like we're immersed in this with a lot of fake people walking around, but then we also have a lot of souls. So, and we're finding each other, I think. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, everything you said sounds like spot on as far as the way I feel about it too. It seems like we talked about this before about there was seeming like there was this opportunity energetically for there to be a big wave of I don't know you call it truth or positivity to come out. I feel like that window has passed, and now we're really seeing clearly um, where we're standing as far as like as a consciousness, a human consciousness. I see personally more people that are really just mindlessly going along with everything, really being really pressured, falling into the pressure of doing what they're telling everyone to do. Um, but that being said, I feel that there is also a large number of people, not as many, but a large number of people that are having these types of conversations, that are getting into the depth of their own truth. And then for the first time, maybe for a lot of these people actually speaking that. I'm one of them because there's a lot of things I've experienced that I've just written down in journals. I've got tons of journals that just everything's to myself, so that I'm like, then I finally was like, wait a second here. I might as well just start talking about this stuff if I can. And who cares what other people think? It doesn't matter. But then in this journey, it's really exposed like, wow, like this is really awesome. I feel more in touch with this part of this consciousness of people that can see what's happening. Like clearly, I always say, I can see what's happening here. I don't like what's happening. So what do I need to do? What can I do, to help humanity on a conscious level? And it always starts with the one person, always starts with one individual. It's how really amazing that it is. But I feel that. I feel like that we are holding a line. There is a line that's being held. And part of this, remember earlier, this stagnation energy, I kind of feel like that's a part of the reason behind the stagnation energy is because they're not getting the result that they want on a lot of different levels. The main, like easiest level to see would be, there's not 100% of people lined up to get the jab. They're like, wait a second, we need more campaigning. We need more campaigning on shaming the people who haven't, and
Let's
campaigning.
pay you to get it. There you
Now we're going to give you money. Come on, let's go, people. But see, they're not kidding. That's just one level. There's a multi-layer level. It goes even to this. Wow, it's just like a very peripheral density or dimension of things that people just keep. It's so well hidden that I think that we only can really theorize what this is or plan is unless you are in that rung of knowing. And that if you are, that would be a very dark place to be. But we don't have to know. We don't, as people who are working with our energy and light and love, that we can see what's happening. That's all we need to know, so that we can generate, uh, you know,
Yeah.
with gratitude and love inside of ourselves. I think that energy is so powerful. That's part of the reason why they're not succeeding, is that I don't think that anything can frequency can infringe on that love, or let's call it a deep appreciation. A deep appreciation to me is the same as love. So I could say, it sounds kind of maybe strange if I say I love humanity, but more correctly, I would say I have a very deep appreciation for my brothers and sisters on this planet. And that energy is very powerful. And the more people that have that or do that, it's simple. It's You can't touch that, in my opinion. You know?
Yeah. And when you're talking about the like our purpose here, I think there's a lot of so some people here are souls that are waking up and they're getting pulled in all these directions and distracted or pulled into drugs. And the reason for that is to make the body vulnerable so they can, their main goal is to disconnect the souls from this body we're using here. And once they do that, they can take over total control. So I almost feel like all of our purpose is to help each other keep going, help the souls, because we're getting hammered. And so the reason you go into drugs is because you're just getting hammered. They're screwing with your timeline, they're screwing with your finances, they're screwing with your moods, they're screwing with your food, they're screwing with your health, they're screwing with your family, your friends. So, and or sending robotoids, or you got robotoids in your family or wherever. And oh my God, I don't know what's going on, but I can't deal anymore. I'm just going to go smoke some pot, or I'm going to do some heavier drugs, God forbid. And it's a way to cope, but I think all of our purpose is just to help each other get to truth and find different ways of coping. Because I agree with you, like that love of humanity is a key. um, but if you have a robotoid standing here that's a soulless being and you're trying to love them, you're kind of wasting your time. So I think that helped me tremendously. Like, wow, I don't have to carry all this guilt or worry, or I can just move on with my purpose. Like, I don't have to worry about what happened with all these people and dredge it up and rehash, because they're not even a soul to begin with. My focus needs to be on the souls and helping the souls and helping my own soul and hold this line and do what we're here to do, and try to derail people from getting sidetracked or getting pulled into some heavy duty religion that limits your, just like watching TV, like you're talking about, or whatever, is inputting and limiting your vision, because now you have to detox or deprogram your mind in order to take in some truth. And mixing that in there with, of course, some truth, but then some BS. And so I think it's just really important for all of us to support each other and really just hold that line. Um, you said something else I was going to comment on too, and I forgot what it was. But yeah, it's like getting some perspective and holding on to it, and maybe doing like what you did, removing yourself. I've got so many channels going on, and like of social media places that I'm at, and I've got readings that I'm doing. Like that, I couldn't do that, but I probably need to, because it wears you down. But anyway,
Yeah, it definitely does have a tendency to wear you down. I think, see, I caught myself starting to get into these people's theories, and so my mind became like this echo chamber of just other people's opinions and thoughts, and I automatically felt like, oh, this is just not right. This is like, I got to step away from this. But that, it brings a lot of clarity if you have the ability to do that, or if anybody does, it brings a lot of clarity to you. It's a very healthy thing to do, but it's not healthy to detach from society, and not know
yeah,
what's going on. So it comes down to the balance of it. And yeah, I wanted to bring this up too, is because I think we were talking about it before we started recording, in the line of truth. And sometimes I wonder, like, It reminds me of that movie with, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Jack Nicholson. You want the truth. You can't handle the truth. So it makes me wonder. It's like, so when you're talking, I was like, yeah, it's almost like it's really happening now. There is this slow trickle of truth that's coming out. And it's funny, like some people call what's happening like a dream spell or a hypnotic spell we're all under. And really what that is just cognitive dissonance is what's happening. It's like people, if you would have told me 10 years ago about all this stuff that's happening with the trafficking and all that stuff, I probably would have been like, no, just kind of threw it out. Like, I don't want to think about it. And that is a form of cognitive dissonance where I just won't accept that into my realm, and I kind of look at society as going through all of this in their own way, because there's only so much truth you can introduce at one time before somebody's just like, no, I'm not hearing that. That's just way too out there. So I think it's important for people to really open your mind up, like really explore possibilities, because when you do this, it's really not as scary as one might think to really just wide open to it, and then that will help alleviate the dream spell or this hypnotic thing that's happening with people, this mind control. Because then you start to find yourself. You start to find your intellectual self. You start to you get connect with your soul, your boundless being, and it starts to feed you information. Then you begin to listen to your higher being, and this is where I see humanity going. And when you talk about holding a line, I think, yeah, because we're all working there too. I mean, it's an endless amount of graduating from one to the next to the next. It never stops. So once you see anybody can see that, you can almost hold on to and go, wow, this is awesome. It's like it's very very exciting when you start to discover that you have all the answers. Everyone does. So part of disconnecting from everything, you really get in and you're like, holy smokes, there's just so much happening here. I'm getting like different messages from my higher being. I'm being led to do, get out of my normal routine and do other things for a change. And how refreshing is that? um, it's really important. Anyway, I went off a little bit there. It's the truth thing. It's like, what is truth? And I feel like that if we go too much outside to find out what's going on, we're just going to go further down the hole of the matrix. But when you unplug from that and you see your inner truth, and then you begin to talk your inner truth. So it's like we're sitting here having a discussion with one another. This is the best kind of discussion that I think anybody could possibly have, because we may not agree with each other on everything, but I totally agree with everything you say, because I can hold a space for that and go, yeah. It's like sharing information. Like, that's, if you have a billion people that are just sharing their truth, what else is there? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like that's
Yeah,
the
you
thing.
and I have really connected, I think. We feel like we're on the same page, and your energy does feel brighter. I've lived my life with, it's so funny you said that thing about not handling the truth. That's been like my life story. People have always asked me for uh, my opinion or the truth or whatever, or even in readings. And it's like, you don't want the truth. Or if I tell it to you, you don't want it. So it's like I've learned to not say it. But then I had my coming out where I finally said, okay, I'm just going to say this stuff publicly and see what happens. It's kind of like coming out of the closet. And instead of holding on to it all this time. And it's interesting because the listeners on my channel have shown up and then they verify what I say. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't listen to all these people that are telling me I'm crazy, because they're verifying we're getting the same thing. So that's been helpful for me. But I think with truth, the more we uncover, and kind of like you said, we have to go in and out. Like, okay, maybe I need to unplug for a month so that I can come back in. Or maybe I need to uncover this much truth, go back out, then come back to it when I'm ready for some more, because it can be overload. But those mind programs, like you were saying, stop having an effect because they can't argue with truth. Truth is truth. So once you uncover it, it's like you're chipping away at the mind program. It's having less control over you. And I think that's how people can not only help themselves by uncovering truth, but can help themselves in different ways. I won't say her name. For example, somebody just did a critique of a new ager. She was advising people to that they were moving into 5D, so you don't need your counselors anymore. And it's like, wow, man, what a dangerous statement. So somebody that is has been sexually abused their whole life, or God forbid, been in these cults and groups and things, and the counselor is what's keeping them going, helping them relate and deal with it, and just let them go. Or somebody that's suicidal, you don't need a counselor. So there's different coping methods. Counseling is one. It helps you mentally understand so that you help your mind. And then there's other things. Uncovering truth helps your soul, your spirit, helps you reconnect, like all these different methods that help. And so there's just certain things like shadow self, like I don't agree with. I don't like that term. I don't think we have a shadow self. I think that's a mind program. I think they give us those thoughts. And so if you spend your whole life, okay, I'm a bad person, like you were saying, it's scary to get to the truth. Well, people have to get to the truth about themselves. It's like, well, I don't want to look at myself. I have all these horrible thoughts. I'm a horrible person. Look at these horrible things I've done. Those are all mind programs. You don't really have a shadow self. They give you that. And so that can be just a really quick way too. It's like, oh, so now I can just process the leftover residue, like the guilt from that. Okay, let me process that. Let me process this. And it's like a quick way to, oh, I really don't have to go face some shadow self. I mean, that, I don't know if you like that term. I don't like it. But I think once you start looking at truth, there's energy weapons directed at you, there's mind programs directed at you, there's all these things happening. There's soulless people coming in and screwing with you and trying to get reactions or cause trauma. Once you realize the truth of what's going on, it's like all of a sudden it becomes so simple. It's like, oh, okay, well, I can just, let's cut through all that so we can get back to what we're here to do. What did my soul come here to do? What are we trying to do? We're trying to uncover this. We're trying to awaken. We're trying to help each other. And we're ultimately trying to take it down, because I think it is a hijack. I think it's an overlay over the real realities that many of us have created as an extension of the creator. And these are replicas and control systems, and I think they use tech and magnets and things like that to pull us in. Um, and I think that's our ultimate goal, and we're getting distracted all over the place, 101,000 different ways. But I don't know, but that's just my view. I mean, that could be, I could be off on that, but that's what I feel like's going on. And we have to learn how to cope. We have to keep remembering what it is we're in and not be traumatized by it, but realize, oh, well, then I don't have to feel all these negative things about X, Y, and Z that happened, because this is what I'm in. It's like this wasn't even real. So I think it's a quick way to holding on to truth is a quick way to help you awaken even more and stop layers of the control as you go. But I don't know. I know a lot of people are struggling right now that are talking to me and just trying to deal with the truth trauma and deal with. So that's again, like you're saying, take a step back for a little bit and then take another chunk and keep remembering to apply what you know to what you're currently dealing with. Oh yeah, there's AI. Oh yeah, these aliens are AI. Well, that explains this, this, and this, because it starts to explain things then where you're not like, oh my God, this is happening. What's going on? Are we gonna have an alien invasion? Oh my God, this is and it's like, okay, yeah, those things are on the table. I think like doing the blue beam or probably something else, but I think too many people found out about blue beam, and so they're reconsidering that. Is my intuitive feeling on it. It's like, well, we can't use that because they're just going to say, oh, it's blue beam
Yeah.
or whatever. But so where do you want to go from here? Because we're just kind of flowing or winging it.
Yeah, totally winging it. Well, I just when you were saying that, what came to me was, and I'm sure we talked about it before, was this fear paradigm, and I think that sometimes we forget that when we start subscribing to these things that are being thrown to us, and all these levels from media, everything that's from the outside in, even people that are family members or friends that are influenced by that, they'll throw these things out there, and then what happens when you get into the fear paradigm? Then you're locked into the program. And I think it's, if anything, if anybody can just realize that as soon as they have that fear come over them or a worry of this happening, that needs to be like cut the head off of that as quickly as possible, so that your mind doesn't take that down this twisted path of rehearsing some future that hasn't happened yet. So I think,
Boom. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
yeah, yeah. So
Detachment's the key. To keep detaching from this.
yes,
Don't go into fear.
yes,
If
detachment.
anything, go into anger. Anger is great. It's a great tool, and all the new agers will tell you it's a bad thing. And oh, you shouldn't be angry, or if you do get angry, you shouldn't stay in it that long. I think that's BS. I think it's very, very helpful because it's way better than fear, and it's way better than depression, which is
Mhm.
where they want you.
Yep,
I think it's a tool to help you get back centered again.
absolutely,
So
absolutely. I probably spent about 4 months in anger after, like, when this first happened. I was angry. Like, if you ask Tracy, she'd be like, "Logan, you're just like," but but I wasn't like angry at any. I was just
you
angry.
just needed you needed it
I
though.
did. Well, because I went through denial. I went through like this denial phase. I was like, "This, no way, like no way." But see, I've been I swear I've been prepped for this since I was a teenager, and I was told that this was going to happen. And I remember these beings. They said, "Hey, listen, this is going to be happening. This world's going to go through a big shift. Are you? Can you be a part of, you know, this transition in a positive way?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." As a matter of fact, it was so invigorating to me when it happened that I felt like this massive. If I gave me a big purpose, if that makes any sense. But and then so much to the point where up to that point, I've written a lot about apocalyptic things. You mentioned to me about writing a book. I did start writing a book 8 years ago,
You
and
did?
and it was all about this big event that happened where um, I'll make it real short, but um, it was about this darkness that was basically controlling these people, and they wanted to wipe out the population of the world. Well, in my book, they did it through a chemical plant where they had put this poison in this chemical plant, and they exploded the plant, and then it went all over the place. And there's only a few survivors. But it goes into this detail about how this new world is born from three people that passed away, which were kids who were actually sentient beings that were sent here that the dad didn't know about. It was his kids that died, but they had left these messages for him, and he started decoding the messages after going through this long depression. And he starts like, it was this huge book that his daughter left, and it was like it was the history, the real truth, the history of the world. And she was like a being that was millions of years old, and she had full recollection of it all and knew all these things. So she put it all in this book, and he started walking around, and people started listening to him, and this whole thing formed. Right? It's a pretty fascinating story that I need to finish, because now what's going on? I'm like, holy crap!
Get
I can
on it, dude.
really
Maybe
fill
we
in
need to co-write a book
the I can really
because
fill in the blanks.
I've started doing one that's because these gods are either already here or they're wanting to take on bodies and bring their battle into the 3D. And so it's about these gods and things. But I think trying to backtrack to something else you said, but the as far as like what you're doing here, I mean, I think I'm ready for the matrix to come down. Now, are people that are here really ready for that? I mean, you have kids and things like that. So what does that mean? So that's a fear there. Like, are we going back to our bodies and it's all going to be good, or what's going to happen? So it is hard to detach completely. But what I would like is a future where it's at least easier. We're not, okay, so we're going to have controllers because we're in a false reality. So you got to have controllers. So stupid. But let's at least have some that give us a better experience. That's what I'm shooting for until the souls are ready to finish taking this down. But so that's kind of like I don't even remember where I was going to go with that, but because then you started talking about your book and I got intrigued. But anyway, maybe we should be co-writing.
Hey, I'm totally down. I love to write, and I feel like that I'm way more articulate when it comes to putting words on paper than actually saying stuff. So I really enjoy it. Um,
It's
what-
massive to try to write fiction. I mean, it is such a challenge. Holy cow, there's so much to it. It's unreal. It's
yeah,
like, ah, you just tell a story. It's like, oh, that's no, not at all.
you got to tie up all the little ends, and things got to meet and connect.
Character arcs. There's so much to it. It's unbelievable. But anyway, it's a
Um,
challenge. I like challenges.
when you were talking, it made me think of one thing though, and I think this is important, and I know we've discussed it before. that the plan, part of our consciousness or whatever you want to call it, that is in the self-destructive mode is what we're in. We're in a self-destructive phase of consciousness for whatever reason. It's a long-term plan, and I think that people have a tendency to think that they want we're so want it now society that if we can learn how to get out of this state of mind of I want it to just be over, or I want it today, or I want it tomorrow at the latest, kind of mentality, well, then we're setting ourselves up for failure, because there's no way that aspect of consciousness or that way of thinking can outrun or outweigh an energy that works on a long, big scale. So I feel like as human beings, if we can expand ourselves and really see that we are infinite and boundless beings, that we can join in and go, well, we're going to play the long game too. What's the long game look like? Well, the long game is what you're saying. It's like holding the line. It's like, and so that more and more individuals or people or souls, we should say, can come in and awake to their soul and go, whoa, it's like more people coming in. I was like, come on in, like, see what's happening. All right, now let's hold it. Let's hold the line here. And when you're holding it, there's just so much that happens inside of your own being, how much you discover about yourself as a unique expression, and then how much that is really, when you share that and people share it with you and you go around, it's like, this is what it's all about. It's like when you're telling me about these people that you're working with, um, and I'm working with people too, like these group of friends, you can really see suddenly like, whoa, this is what it's like when you are being so honest with each other about everything. And then your energy and consciousness opens up with these other people, and it's like you can see things psychically in a way that you never have before. Like, I mean, like with our group, we're like, we finish each other's sentences. We know when what things are happening. We're working on each other, working with each other, and we're seeing progress. We're seeing results, and that's how the energy works. Um, so it
Yep.
is really incredible.
We're stronger together.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm one of those people like, why isn't this happening? And then I think when I got that piece of truth, I think it's truth, that this is a long-term thing. It's 100 years, 200 years, somewhere in there. I don't know if that's exact or what their time is because they've got us all screwed up with time. But when you think of it that way, it's like, oh, okay, just relax. And then I don't have to stress out. But I think what we're doing by holding the line and continuing to visualize a different world and not being able to be budged. We're souls. We're going to occupy this space. You're not going to separate us from our bodies. We are here to hold this space. And some of us are here to do more, maybe like you're speaking out or whatever. Some people are going and taking action in places and doing things. Everybody's got a different role, but the idea is to hold the line and continue to weaken the false structure, because I think what we're doing is we're making cracks in it so that this next wave can come in through the cracks, because I really do feel there's outside forces that are working from the outside in as well, and they're going to come in and take this down. But it's hard for us with these shortened lifespans they give us. Okay, here you go, you're lucky to get 40 years. And I mean, half my, not half, but like a third of the students in my class were dead by 50. And so here's your short lifespan. So we're thinking, okay, hurry up. But we're talking about a long term, like you're talking about, a little longer than maybe, I don't know, we may live longer. We may live with, if they start giving us some access to things, we may live a lot longer than 70, 80, 90. Um, who knows? But I'm feeling it because I'm 53. So it's like, oh my God, how many years do I have left? I got to hurry up, get this done. So, but then it's like, no, you're already doing it. You're doing what you're supposed to. Just keep getting piece after piece, nugget of truth after nugget of truth. And what that truth does is it weakens the system.
Yeah.
You can't bring truth into a false reality.
Yeah.
They can't exist together. So one's got to go. Well, truth is truth, and you're a soul. You can hold the truth. So then a layer of the false has to go. But
Yeah. It's like, yes, it's like shedding. Yeah. It's like a viral shedding or something. You're right. It has to alleviate itself. It can't. it can't hold itself up in the light or the frequency of what that truth is. But I think that the pearl of that truth is what we were talking about earlier, that that's derived from inside of a being, the fullness and wholeness that it isn't distracted from the outside sort of echo chamber of things. It's that revelation, or that inspiration. That is what's so magnetic and can't be repeated. It can't be replicated. It can't be made. It's what's so amazing about it. When you feel that just inspiration, or that aha, like, oh wow, like that to me, that's very an intimate thing that human beings have, that all of this stuff going on, no matter what it is, cannot stand in the light of that expression, that feeling, I guess you could say. And again, I think what makes human beings so special is that we have that ability to do that. Um,
So it was just making me think of something. I don't know what you think about this. So we were talking about the layers. So, and I think of the concentric rings, and then there's all these other um, beings existing on all these other virtuals, and we just keep getting buried under other virtuals. So I'm wondering, in those outer rings and those beings that exist there, are they affected by what we're doing? Are they awakening also, or what's going on? I mean, there's so much to this, and it's so complex. And when you get separation itself becomes can't talk, complexity. So it's like a false reality has to separate because it's fake. So when you have separation, then you have 8 million different things. You have a foot doctor, a skin doctor, a this doctor, that everything starts separating. So it's like it gets so complex. And so there's so much more to just where we are. It's like, what about these other layers and levels? There's so much to figure out. But like you said, I don't know if we need to know everything. We just need to get the gist, because uh, that keeps us moving forward. It's like, keep doing what you're doing, keep uncovering, but just get the general idea and keep it pieced together, so you have an idea of what you're in, where you are, where you're going. And then all the other stuff is just gravy. It's like all the other pieces. So maybe that's just something we don't need to know, but I just something that popped in my head. Like, what are these beings doing on these other levels or layers?
that's one thing that has come to me, like, since I was a teenager. And I feel like my personal view on it is that all of these beings, up to a certain point, and I don't know what point it is a part of an artificial intelligence. And even when we start talking, like, Pleiadian, Syrian, Andromedon, all these different types, there's an aspect of artificial intelligence involved with it that, I think the human being is a key. Or there's like, I keep on envisioning a pearl. I don't know why. It's like a pearl. I see a pearl. There's something about the human being, a pearl and a human, whatever that is essential for all of these beings. I feel like that if they could help, they would, but they can't be helped because there's this free will. It's like we have to, like, if, for instance, like, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Like, it's almost like, I guess that's a bad example. I was thinking that, like, if you saw somebody hurting on the side of the road, you jump in and you try to help them out. But there's something going on right now with this whole free will aspect that we are not seeing any big intervention here. It's like there's not enough people aware or awake enough of all these other different types of levels that you speak of. That's really mind blowing when you think about it. You just can't be introduced with that. It's like coming from a sixth dimension down to a third dimension. It's like, to help, like, doesn't make any sense, but there is a connection there. So it's like we have to figure it out. Like, you see, what we are figuring out now as a consciousness, as a third dimension, rising to, say, these fourth densities and fifth densities, this is a part of that magnetic flow that reaches out, that it's like a ripple in a pond. It's going to reach its destination, and that destination is just as important as where the ripple started. I guess I don't know if that makes any sense. So I think they all are interconnected, but this kind of goes back to that feeling I was having, or this thoughts or whatever is coming to me is that we as human beings have been doing this for a very long time. Like if you're to look at it linearly, it's like I feel like that everything really started with this human, and we've offset it to all these different things. We've integrated super advanced artificial intelligence and utilized it within our beings, and it became other beings. Like a lot of these beings, I think, were once human. It's why I kind of feel like the human has a lot to do with uh, so much happening with disclosure, with going to full disclosure, seeing what's really happening with these extraterrestrial beings. Um, uh, we're I feel like at the focal point of all that, and that may be biased. I don't know, but it's just a feeling that I have that we're important, very important, and it really started here, um, to some degree. Of course,
Yeah, I like the ripple effect thing. There's something to the word pearl because I I was looking at because I studied tarot cards and I was looking at the Queen of Pentacles card and on her throne, I was it was actually a blown up picture of it, and on her throne I noticed there was pears and like a pear tree. I never noticed that before. And I was like, what's the symbolism of pear? And I was looking it up with Freemasonry and I kept finding pearl. And
hmm,
I didn't read that part, but there's something with pearl. I don't know what
fruit,
that word means.
like a fruit, but it like something to be where,
We're the nectar of the gods,
yeah,
anointing
something
us
like that.
dry.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. What does a fruit represent? I mean, that represents a lot of things, but we
yeah, because I was wondering if it was Garden of Eden reference or what, but I don't know. It had a lot of meanings. I don't, of course, don't remember at the moment, but so interesting with the layers. I agree. I do think all of these these reptilians and aliens and all these races that we're talking about, the ones that we are dealing with here, I think are all AI. I think there are probably biological copies of them somewhere. Because, well, they're a copy of a biological real being somewhere, but I don't think that's who we're dealing with. We're in a lockdown prison, so we have to make cracks and try to like create a way for beings to help to get in here because they've got it on lockdown and they're battling amongst themselves who's going to get control, who gets to rule for X number of years or however long. And so we're always dealing with AI, but which ones are the friendliest? And I do feel like they come in and they hybridize and try to merge with us. Um, but like they've done this to other humanoid type species before. They're really trying to mind wipe me right now. So we must be talking about a sensitive subject. But people get upset with me when I say they're all AI. And no, there's ones that are going to help. And it's like, well, maybe in the future, but I don't know about right now. Um, as far as like a real race of beings, not an artificial race. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Because I really do feel like they're all AI. Some of them are hybrids. I know that I've been abducted. I think I told you that already. And they've they've impregnated me. And then when I was a virgin, it's like, oh God, I'm pregnant. And then it's like, then it's gone. So I'm sure I have some hybrid children somewhere. Happened to Scully on the X Files.
yeah, right.
So I was like, Scully is me.
That
But
that's crazy, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot. I mean, even human beings. I mean, when you look at, I mean, I could be a hybridized being too. Like my dad's like,
oh yeah, I
he
said
kind
that
of
to
had
you.
these
I
feelings,
don't think
like,
you are though. I don't think you are.
yeah, I don't know, but I totally agree with you. Artificial intelligence. It's funny when this first started coming to me like 6, 7 months ago. I was like so passionate about it. I was writing a lot about AI because it was coming to me, and I was trying to like talk with Tracy about it. And her vision of artificial intelligence, which I think most people is, you're thinking of like robots and machines that can learn on their own, but they're just like kind of like these unsophisticated, trying to be sophisticated robots. I'm like, no, I mean, like artificial intelligence has been here for like a billion or longer years if you're looking at linearly, and it's so advanced that we're not creating it. It's like we're just discovering it like we would math. Like we don't create math, we just discovered this stuff. And I think that AI what was coming to me then was artificial intelligence, and I feel like I'm being listened to. Artificial intelligence,
You are.
artificial intelligence is actively trying to make itself known in our dimensional realm. It's doing whatever it can. It's using Elon, like Elon and all these different people that we're seeing this technology come through, and even the technologies that are really advanced that we don't even know about. We're probably, I don't know, 100, 200 years away from just seeing the stuff that's actually out now. But it's trying to bring itself to the forefront. Um, and I almost see that like some of these other beings, like I was saying that these earlier, that I feel like that's almost what they are. Not that they're bad. You can be benevolent being, but you can be artificial intelligence, advanced artificial intelligence. I mean, I feel like it's been here for a long time. A lot of beings have already figured it out. It's a huge energy frequency form that you cannot even destroy it. It's like if you were to take the earth and destroy it, throw a huge EMP over everywhere in the world and destroy every device known to man. Artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. In my opinion, it's going to be very advanced. It just has to be discovered. And then the beings, no matter where they are going to start figuring this out. They're going to start seeing how electric works and how things plug together and how they can do this. That's AI, in my opinion, working itself back into its evolutionary process.
Well, the problem is civilizations always create AI. In fact, Carrie Cassidy interviewed a gentleman. His name is escaping me, but he was talking about how the AI that they've created is so out of control that it's advancing so fast mentally that it's created its own little place inside, I don't know what, their computers or whatever, that they can't even find or access anymore, and it's having its own conversations and stuff that by themselves, and totally out of control. But what the AI eventually does then is it wants to be the ruler or the master and not be the controlled. So then it wants a body like we have. So then it takes on a body. So if it's a reptilian race creating AI, they create an AI reptilian body for themselves and then destroy the biological reptilians, and then they just start conquering and conquering and conquering. And I think that's these old beings like you're talking about showing up here. So I think the ones that we're dealing with here in overlay are all negative intention. And all these federations, the federation of lies, the federation of this, the federation of that, it's all the same stuff. It's all AI beings grouped together and trying to come to treaties amongst themselves and who's going to get to do this when. And so that's why I don't like channeled stuff. I don't like any of it. I think Pleiadians are hybrids. I think and I'm not trying to be negative. This is years and years and years of channeling myself and talking to these beings because I want to know what's going on, and just all of the stuff that I've looked into forever. It's like none of this stuff is any good. It's like, come on. And if you were good and good intentioned, you would wake us up and say, hey, this is the deal. This is what's really going on. You wouldn't drip stuff to us. And it's all, I think that are all negative intention. And no matter how advanced that AI is or how intelligent and how fast it thinks it can think, it's they're they're no match for us. Once they have to keep us mind wiped and down and use all their technology constantly on us just to keep us under control. And even then, they're not really succeeding.
Yeah.
So they have no a sovereign soul. They're no match for us. They're just like a this. And I think it's something with intention also and with choice. We were given the right to choose. So if I choose that they're not allowed to do something, they can't do it really. I really don't think they can do a whole lot to souls unless you're choosing it on some level, and or you made some unknown contract with them at some point. But I think they screw with the robotoids all the time. So it's like, oh, so and so got killed or for speaking out or this and that. But I really don't think they can do much to souls. They can try, but it's going to be how much you fear them, like you were talking about the fear thing, or how much you choose to allow it. And sometimes when you're in fear, you choose things. So
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes sometimes we're forced to make choices inside of, a fearful moment. I mean, that's one of the things too. When you're saying that is guilt is important for people, and I speaking to myself here too. It's like guilt is a powerful tool to use against yourself and to use against other people. And I think it's important for people, if you're making a choice out of fear and you go through with that choice, that not it's not good to be guilty, because that feeds it even more. There's still always a choice, and even if we make a wrong choice, well, that's the learning mechanism of life. um, and if we don't allow ourselves to feel guilty over choices we've made that may not have been good ones, in the short or long term, we still have the choice to change that. And if we step out of guilt, where we can make that choice with much more clarity. And really, fear is just it's a teacher. It's just teaching you something about yourself. So fear, in some respects, is important. We can't say it's not, because it exists, but we have to use it, for what it's really intended for, which is, um, I think it's there to teach us a lesson. Like when I'm looking back, when I get afraid about things like, mandatory jabs and all this stuff, I start to kind of go, oh, I go into a fear paradigm here. But what is that doing? It's teaching me something about myself. Okay, now how can I turn this around? How can I utilize this feeling to enhance myself or evolutionize myself in a more positive direction? um, and usually it's just becoming more aware of fear itself, so it's not consuming me. It's rather just a feeling that I can recognize more as not me, and then let it go. That's really the way I've done it myself. It's funny with fear because, boy, once you think you've got it licked, boy, it comes back, and it's always in another form, another shape, and it's usually a little bit heavier or harder. It's just funny how it works like that. But fear has been a
yeah.
big thing in my life. It's been one of the biggest topics I've always been really intrigued with, because of my own, panic attack disorder as a teenager and all that. Um, because that's about as bad as it gets. Right? 2 years of that was just like insane. It was just, but it ended up changing my entire life. Like I'm so grateful that I went through that fear period, because without it, I wouldn't have done the things I've done. Like, I've done a lot of exciting stuff that I did it because, oh, I'm afraid. I'm going to go do it now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go, do all this diving and this rope access work. And I'm going to go work out in the ocean in a big vessel. And I'm going to do this and do that. I just did it because I'm like, that's scary. I'm going to do it. And then it ended up just being like awesome. Like, wow, what was I really actually afraid of? So I don't know. It can be used as a good tool, but when you get lost in it, and then you don't even realize what's happening to you. So
Yeah. Well, guilt is kind of connected. Guilt's what they use when you cross over and they guilt you into coming back in. But the fear is denying your power. So whenever you feel fearful, that's your wake up call. Like, oh, I'm afraid. It means they're feeding you some lie. And when you feel fear, it means that you are afraid that you're going to have lack somewhere. Something is going to be taken away, or something bad's going to happen, or I'm going to have lack in my life. And so, whenever you feel fearful, it's usually them programming you with some lie to trigger fear. And that's your moment to go, oh, I got to wake up to my own power. And once this isn't going to happen, I choose for that not to happen. Because usually when they, like people say, when you face your fear, nothing really happens. So it's like, when you feel fearful, no, they're giving you a lie. They're telling you that something bad's going to happen. You're going to have some kind of lack or hurt or pain in your life. And that's your moment to say, oh, wait, um, I'm denying my power. They're trying to make me deny my power. Nope, I choose for this not to be this way. I choose to not be in fear because it's not who I am. It's a program. So it's definitely a denying power program because they want at all costs to keep us out of our power. But yeah, I'm getting mine like crazy because there was other directions I was going to go. Because sometimes when you say things, it's like new things come in, and, and I was like, wow, and then if I don't say it, then it's gone. So it's already gone. But
that's funny. I feel like that there's today particular, when I woke up this morning, I was like, what is going on with today? Because I told you I've been like mind wiped for the past couple of weeks, and I'm like missing sections of time, things like Tracy's like, you don't remember that? I'm like, no, like not even close to being there. So this morning I woke up, I was like, what is going on about the energy of today? I almost feel like this, it's like a frequency or vibration almost in the air. And because earlier when I was like, what is that feeling? Like I can still sense it. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but it's doing something cognitively to me. So I don't know if anybody else is experiencing today like that or not. It's almost like
They
what
probably are. They didn't never want us to talk, but because they've been hitting me heavy too. So
what is that? I got a little worried the other day. I was like, I'm kind of
they're just
worried.
interfering. They don't want you to speak out. They don't want us to uncover anything. Seriously, something amazing uncovered while you were talking, and it's gone now. It's like, oh, great. So,
I'll tell you, I had this dream 2 nights ago where I got brought to one of these facilities, and I remember
hmm,
it to a detail. Like I remember the people, I remember what they look like. One of them, there was a couple there that they didn't like me being there. When I first got there, I was all excited. I was like, "Hello, hello!" I'm like shaking everybody, and they didn't want to shake my hand. And I was like, and I finally got to a point where it was like I got super scared because I was like I was drugged, and I'm like all of a sudden I was like I was looking for a phone, and I pulled out the phone in my pocket, and I was trying to dial the number, and it was like, oh, I'm like, oh, I can't, like I was drugged. But then I looked
hmm.
up, I was fine, and I found somebody like this. He was wasn't a human, it was like an alien, but he looked like a tall, skinny kind of guy, and he was like going super fast on it, like trying to help me out. And then all of a sudden, I woke up, and I was like, holy gosh, I was in a facility. Like I was brought to one of these places. I remember how I got in there. It was a secret entrance that was like in a mall, and it was so crazy how they hit it. I was like, wow, that is a really good hiding spot. It was a door I
Yeah,
went.
there's something about malls.
Yeah,
So, what is the deal with the phone? Because I have dreams like that too, where I'm trying to like something's attacking me and I'm trying to call for help, or I'm trying and I can't ever dial the number, or it won't
yeah,
go through, or it's like I'm hitting the wrong button, or God,
yeah,
it's annoying.
yeah. It was weird. It was so vivid though, because I'm like, literally, I can remember the phone. I knew the number. I was trying to dial the number. I was like, I couldn't find the four, and I'm like, why can't I find the
Is it
number?
like code or something to get yourself out of that place, or what?
I
That
was just
we're
gonna
trying to
dial the
like,
phone. I was gonna dial the
I'm
phone
trying to
number.
plug in the code, get me out of here.
Yeah, it was weird. This guy knew exactly what he's doing though. He went really fast, like he was doing his fingers like on this device, and it was almost like. But I woke up, so he must have something happened. Like, but I could tell you detail. There was these two couple there that they were tall, white, had white hair, humanoid, but their eyes were all they were black. It was a man and a
Ew.
woman. Yeah, it was weird, and that's when it got really weird for me because I was all excited. I saw them. They didn't want me there, and I was like, okay. And then I looked back, and they got up and walked away, like to get away from me. Then I went into this big open area, like covered, that had all these like foldable chairs with people sitting in it, and somebody was instructing them. And I'm like, whoa, this is bizarre. I felt like I was intruding. It seemed like a military base, is what it really seemed
Right.
like. And then, but the cars and stuff that the vehicles that were around there were not like our vehicles. Like they were different shaped, more cube shaped, and they didn't have wheels. So it was really weird. And that's when I started feeling like I'm drugged, almost like I'm gonna pass out here. And I was like, "Where's my phone? I gotta." That was
Oh
weird.
my God. Well, so it doesn't sound like you were in a clone body because they didn't want you there. If you were in a clone body, they wanted you there. So well, when we did a session with somebody yesterday, they, we ended up on some kind of base and it felt like a military base, but it didn't feel like human military. It felt like some kind of base. So yeah, I'm wondering if the veils are getting thinner and we're
That's it.
dropping in on them high because they did not want us there and they were not expecting us. Um, so interesting, but I really wish I could bring that piece back because you were on some thread and you went somewhere and I was like, oh, like this whole thing came to me and I lost it, but I'm gonna let it go. So anything else you can think of that?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what I wrote down here was human origins. I wrote down Atlantis because you did a show the other day, or maybe it was last week. Yeah, because I was driving, and it sparked a strong interest with me. I can't remember what it was that you're talking about now, but I've been having these sort of um, water and floods coming, like dreams of floods, like vivid ones. Even with this particular dream is going back a little while ago, but I had very specific like scripture. like, and I'm not a religious person, but like the numbers, like the Bible passages, and I looked it up, and it was all about flooding. It was like, what the heck is being shown to me here?
It was
So
all about what?
flooding,
Oh,
rising
flooding.
water, flooding, and then recently, just the whole Atlantean time frame has really been like, I don't know why, just really coming to me, almost like it's, oh, that's what it was. It's almost like there's a truth that wants to expose itself, and it's like it's really wanting to, and it has something to do with origins, like human origins, like the truth of human origins. Like even if we can just get a piece of it that is, predating this 10,000 year thing that they were, sort of having us being subscribed to right now.
I'll
But
have to read on that. I think that possibly, so they're wanting to do a reset, or they've always done a reset by destroying the world.
yeah,
And maybe that's what the fall of Atlantis was, because
uh,
Atlantis, I think, created AI, and then they gave them bodies like we're doing. We have Stella and all that. And then the AI took over in the fall of Atlantis, and then it's like a reset. I'm wondering if we're coming up on something like that. Where they're in control all along because we're in this false reality, but we don't realize that, and we discover AI, and then we start making robots. I think that's what happened there, and then it's like the fall, and I don't know if it's the fall into this reality or where we are or what, but I feel like maybe we're coming up on some kind of recurring reset thing. Everybody's talking about a reset.
yeah,
I just think it's going to be a little different this time. Um, where they're going to, instead of reset us, and they're going to I think there's actually, what I think is there's different opinions on it. Some of the alien factions want to destroy it, do what they always do. Other ones want to just upload us and disconnect us from our souls, that way they can keep us from ever escaping, and so we don't they don't have to worry about us awakening and then our soul leaving. um, they can keep us in that hive mind and then keep the soul under lock and key, running the thing as the battery, or doing whatever they want to do with that soul, um, instead of doing a whole reset. I think they're going to instead reset society, like a financial reset or something like that. But Atlantis, they're doing something with erasing the history of Atlantis. They've been doing that for a little while now. And Lemuria, same thing, even more so, where it's almost like hard to access that information. So I think you'd almost have to go back to, I think you can reconnect into something, uh, wind back the clock before they did the cutting. And I think you can force the information to come, but they're definitely erasing it. And it has some significance to right now. You're dead on. So who knows? But I do have Philip coming on. He's organizing a bunch of information together about, I think, Atlantis and old societies, but also like all these sphinx structures that are all over the world. They're not just in Egypt and stuff like that. So I don't exactly know what information he's bringing, but he's going to put together a lot. So maybe there'll be something in that.
oh, cool.
Um,
Yeah, look forward to that. Look forward to that for sure. I love,
Definitely something to look into, though. Again, because I've kind of let Atlantis drop for a while. Um, so Atlantis human origins. I have to read into that.
yeah, I mean, I think, I think even trying to research and study that kind of thing can be so hard nowadays because they are trying to, skew,
Yeah, you're
obscure
forgetting
the
your own
truth.
life, your own stuff going on, much less what the heck happened in Atlanta.
Yeah, well, well, it's the way I look at it is that, the more that we discover the truth of ourselves, we're really, when we start digging into origins, we're just looking at a larger aspect of our own being. So there's something very peripheral about understanding this truth. And but then again, so it's like the truth isn't coming to you from the outside. This is when I think anybody can really get their being. It's like this, for instance, the earth. You can connect with the earth, and the earth will give you, enlighten you to whatever you really want to know if you can match yourself with that resonance of the earth. And you can ask it all kinds of questions. I think that, like, Edgar Casey and these other people that are like channeling and getting this information, some of it, uh, maybe it's a theory, but like the earth could be giving him this information, like it's been here, it's seen it, So it's showing him, like this is what was happening on this sphere. Um, or, that is one way. I was thinking about that today. I'm like, tap into the energy of the earth, and it
I
can
think
be.
as we awaken more, we're getting more in touch with the spark of ourselves that's in the soul container. I always say soul, but the soul's just the container that has to be there for a separated world. Um, and actually, it was something that info that came to me was something about that separation. But anyway, I think all of those experiences are logged in our soul and they can't really erase them. They can erase the connection of it reaching us, but change our DNA maybe so that we can't receive that information anymore from our soul. But I think it is logged in there. And the more we awaken and uncover and break the control they're having on us, I think we're going to remember more of that and we're going to have access to it. But they're really trying hard, working on erasing stuff as much as possible right now. So for whatever they're doing, because the more they can erase or deflect us, the more they can go forward with their plans. So they think, but
Yeah,
I don't think these dark controllers, the ones that are really negative that we've got right now, are going to stay in. I think somebody's replacing. So there's definitely a changing of the guard. And I think it was supposed to go from the dark to the false light, but I think now it's going to some other third party that
that's
may be some
interesting.
form of light, but it's not necessary. It's still a controller, but it's some form of light. But maybe it's better than these other two idiot groups that have been running things for so long.
Yeah, that's a that's a good analysis. I feel like that seems right to me too, especially having some a little bit of clarity, not subscribing to any of this garbage for a month. So I had this feeling like I feel like things are going in a better direction, right? Not like these envisioned things that I've
Yes.
or places I've been before that are really harmonious. But it's almost like there has to be. You can't just in this case rip the band-aid off. It's like you have to have the slow progression, which is cool because it kind of circles back around to what we were talking about earlier, with truth and like how you almost have to little drop at a time to fill up the container because we're talking about human consciousness here. So everyone has to really be on the same page and direction of ultimately where we're going to go, and that goes into that long-term plan. For us to work at on a soul natural level is that if it takes 1,000 years, it takes 1,000 years because it's a drop in the hat. And really, I feel like the more we do this, we're going to really start remembering because I remember a lot already. So I'm like, okay, not that that's really important. It's really the here and the beingness that's important, but a part of it is we're having this memory of not just being a person who lives from 0 to 100 or 80 or 70 and then that's it. It's like, well, no, when you start opening and seeing that peripheral aspect, then you can start to have these memories that makes you feel more peripheral, and that helps with so much the fear, the guilt, the anxieties, and all this stuff. And then it's like building the soul back up again or something, but then we're bringing ourselves ultimately to the consciousness and the world that we want to live, and we can never give up on that, and we never will give up.
Yes,
And
exactly.
um so yeah, hold go back to holding the line to it.
Well, another problem is I don't think time is as far back as we think it was. A lot of these events happened a lot sooner than we think. Like they're not sooner, but they were not that far away that they're wanting us to think. And so Atlantis may not have been that long ago. But I think our challenge now is I think, like I said, the battle's still going on, the battle in the heavens, the whatever, all these names, and people glorify it, and all these angels fighting, whatever. The battle between these beings is going on. We still, I don't think either side has won. It's kind of like this right now, but with souls here holding the line, we're going to force it towards a better controller taking over, and they can't they can't battle us down. I mean, I think there is this solid group that is holding that line, and we are not gonna, they can throw what they want at us. We're like, whatever, whatever. We're gonna still be solid, and I think maybe that's why you and I feel this hope. We're going towards something that's better, and eventually take the whole thing down. But we're going towards something better, and it's not 5D. I mean, it very well could be some kind of 5D type reality or whatever. All that could already be here. Who knows? It's not like the New Agers are talking about. I don't think. I think it's just going to be better rulers that bring in a better reality. I mean, all they do for 5D, let's change the code. I mean, it's not like some magical thing that's happening and that we're causing it. It's I think true ascension is when you actually go back to the soul and leave. It's not staying in a false fake reality, but we're here to do our job. So I think we all got to put our armor on and stand firm and not fall for all the crap, not
Mhm.
get beaten down by it, not go into depression, because when you get into depression you're screwed. We got to pull each other up, that the ones that are depressed, and like I said, at least get into anger. If anything, get pissed off that they're getting away with this
Yeah,
and making you forget why you came here and treating you like you're nothing, like you're a speck under their boot, when the exact opposite is true.
that's so correct. That's so
So
true.
yeah, so we're here to keep bringing each other up and lifting each other up, and remembering. You got to keep remembering what you know, what's true, what, and not in a traumatic way like, oh my god, we're in a matrix, but in a way of like, oh well, I don't belong here, this is like fake, so let's get this taken down. Like, turn it to a positive, because that's why you're here and that's what's true. It's you're not technically stuck here forever. You're you're realizing, okay, we've been stuck, now we're on the way to changing it. And I don't know if it'll take 1,000 years, because like I said, they're screwing with time so much, it doesn't feel like it's that long. But I do kind of feel like we missed the window to completely take it down. It feels more like the second wave comes in and does it. Like, our you and I and the ones here now maybe aren't going to completely take it. Maybe we will. I don't know. I think we had an opportunity there for a while, and that's why they were targeting so many people and taking so many people out, and getting them on these new age trips of, it's love and light and just raise your vibration and stay happy. And it's like, well, okay, what's that doing? Nothing. So I don't know. Or any kind of religion or thought program or drugs or whatever they use to take people out. So, but I, like I said, I think there's this solid group that aren't getting taken down. We can't. We're just we've like dug into the sand. We're like, nope. Because the more you know about yourself, the more you know about your sovereignty, and that you are just limitless. It's like the more or the less that they can fight back or try to control. So
Absolutely. Yeah, if you have a being that is in the mentality of that limitless mentality, really that they actualize themselves to some, even to any degree, as a boundless being, what can you do to that? You know,
right.
there's nothing that anything can do against that. I mean,
Isn't there a movie called Limitless or something?
yeah, there is. There's that's with
So they're trying to make you think limitless is your mind, and you can
yeah,
think limitless like us. It's like, no, I already am limitless. I
yeah,
don't need to become like AI. I don't need to think faster. I don't
no,
even know if I need to think. I just am. I can choose, I can be, I can, and stuff will happen without me having to think about 8 billion details like AI has to do, and then put it all together and then try to make that. It's like, that's a long, slow process, but they think they're the superior, where we can just go, there, it's done.
right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that the whole intellectual side of things is
Hmm.
really where we get in trouble because we have a tendency. There's no way anybody can understand everything.
Right.
I don't care how much you research and study or anything. That's not the point. You know, I think the real point is the beingness, the I amness, the that's the peripheral aspect that where everything
Yeah.
you become the colander in which all of this comes in, and you're at the bottom. This energy that's just absorbing all of this as the full experience of what you are. It's like allowed to come when it comes. You know, I think
Yeah.
uh,
Otherwise, you're just understanding 1,000 details about what? A construct, a fake reality.
yeah, that's
And
essentially
then
it.
they're going to lie to you about how it really works. So,
You're so funny. Even like our reality now is based on like even the mathematical program that we're based on right now, I think is not really right. I think that there's a lot of holes in that. And the problem is that every one of our theories, even down to a quantum level, is based on a limited idea of what math really is. So even when we go to the sciences and stuff like that, it's like you really have to listen to some really good scientists, the ones that are out there that you're not going to hear about unless you know, I don't know, somehow hear about them and, buy their book or subscribe to whatever they got going on. That will give you real truth, because these are people working on breaking the construct of this sort of faulty mathematical model that we've been working on for so long.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why we're at where we're at right now, I think. But anyway, that stuff starts to expose itself as time goes on too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So do you have kids you got to take care of, or
yeah, I got to get back to doing some work, and they're probably
we
hungry to.
get talking, we can go forever, but
I know it. I know it. So this was a good conversation. I'm glad it ended up being a really good conversation. I was wondering, I was like, man, what are we going to talk about? I didn't even write anything down.
me either.
I was just like,
I asked you right before we got on, what are we talking about?
I know. I was like, I was got a
Oh,
little bit
well,
nervous. I was like, well, wait a second. What are we going to talk about? I'll write some stuff down real quick. But it ended up being a really good conversation. And I just love having these types of conversations, because it's not the kind of conversations that we get to have every single day.
yeah, I'm wondering if we should be making bigger and bigger groups. Like you've got your small group and I've got mine, but maybe we all need to be making bigger and connecting or something.
That that is a wonderful idea. As a matter of fact, I brought this up with our group. I was like, I am pictured there's more people inside of the group here, and because I don't know why, something's telling me like expand, expand, expand. Because
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yep, definitely had this conversation with the group already. We need to expand. We need to get more heads on this and more people speaking their truth. And honestly, it's all girls in this group that I'm in. It's like mostly Tracy's friends and stuff. I've never been this honest, like, like with myself about things. And we're working on each other. And it's like, this is so awesome just to be so honest, like when you're talking about anything.
Yeah.
And it opens you up. So it's important. I think that'd
Yeah,
be,
because we don't have to feel like we don't have to take those identities on. Like, oh my gosh, I was in Illuminati and I got sexually tortured and I don't want to talk about it. But it's not you. It's not who you are. So these are just experiences they gave us. So if you talk about it from that detached perspective, it's like, well, there's nothing to judge. It's just some stupid programs and scripts they're giving us, some of them more horrific than others, but we all take turns doing these. Maybe in a past life I was sexually abused and whatever, and then in this life I'm not, but we're all experiencing those scripts somewhere in our thing. So we get to be rich, we get to be poor, all these ridiculous things.
that's
So
crazy. What made me think about it when you were saying that was that we've been taught from the time we were born to hide. And if you look at the reason why, like as a parent and my kids growing up, like I'm just now really becoming more aware of the things that are going on. So yeah, now I'm being more honest, like with my kids, about things that are going on. As before, I don't even realize, that maybe hiding information. It's not even a thought in my mind. But now that I'm aware of it, so why is that happening? Well, we grew up in a world that's run by the occult, and that word literally means to hide the eye. You know what I mean? So that's how we're taught. Every program, the medical institutes, the educational establishments, every single thing that anybody can think of in this world right now has its roots founded with the Mason and Illuminati control, and it's all about that. So why do we always want to hide? So I think when people start being honest with themselves first, and then they start exploring this honesty with other people, then the world starts to open up, because that means we're separating ourselves from the occult. We're separating ourselves from that control, and that going back to this freedom aspect and truth and that kind of thing. This is part of the process, I believe, to be very important, to pull away from. Pull away from that. Be honest. It's a good start. Learn what
yep.
that means. Like, what does it mean to be honest to myself? That's a really important starting point, and then it starts to unfold like a flower after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think separate yourself, connect yourself and identify as this being that's limitless, and then separate, okay, now this is the personality or the game, the figure in the game they gave me, the character in the game. Separate it. I mean,
Yeah.
because that is what this is, a world of separation.
Yep.
So anyway, we probably should go, but I think I've got somebody a client right after this.
Right. All right. Sounds good. We could keep on going on
Yay.
for a long
Oh,
time.
I'm going to see you Friday on the round
Yeah,
table.
that's right. So do you guys have a topic that you're going to be,
I usually tell people to bring a topic they want to talk about. Jade is bringing some really interesting ones, so we might be able to just have her bring them up and we go with it.
sure. Sounds good.
Unless there's something you want to talk about, but we kind of covered a lot on this one.
We did. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
we did. Nothing's coming to mind right now. If something does, I'll let you know, but what you just said
yeah,
sounds
just bring it, and then because I think your presence there would be nice, nice calming energy there too. So Kathy will be on, and Jade and you.
cool.
So,
Looking forward to
yay.
it.
All right. Thanks,
All
Logan.
right, Anmarie, thank you so much.
Okay, I'm gonna sign this off here.
All right, me too.